Hello, this is Royal Height, the music ambassador of the Royal Height of Music podcast. Our goal is taking our music to the world. Get the word out now. Let everybody know who you are, where you are, and what you do. Sponsors, advertisers, and affiliates, you're welcome to join us. Join us here at the Royal Height of Music podcast. Contact us at veneralrecords@gmail.com or call us at 1-888-666-3645. That's 1-888-666-3645. Good morning, good morning, good morning. This is Royal Height, the music ambassador. And once again, as we join you on the Royal Height of Music podcast, where we are taking our music to the world. This morning, I have an extreme pleasure of being with not only a great gentleman, but a man who I've had the pleasure of knowing for several years now. We've had a few adventures together. We've talked, we've fellowshiped together. I've been to his home. We've done a lot of things, but I'm just still thoroughly impressed by all that he has accomplished, things that he's doing. He's a very focused man, and he's just a wonderful guy. Today, my guest is Mr. Andrew Walker. He is a renowned author. He's a speaker. He's an entrepreneur. He's out there in the business world. And he's doing some great things, and I would be I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't just make it open arms to let him know how much I appreciate all that I've witnessed him doing and all that he's doing currently. And I know he's got a lot on his plate in terms of what he plans on doing, but I want to introduce you to my friend, Mr. Andrew Walker. Mr. Walker, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
All right. So, look, we're not going to beat around the bush. And like I said, I want to get right at it and dig in. So, Mr. Walker, if you would be kind enough, would you just kindly share, tell my audience who you are, where you're from, some of your personal background and things that you've been involved in? And I'm going to leave it up to you to kind of set the stage on all this.
Well, thank you, Brother Royal. I tell you, man, I'm certainly appreciative of the invitation to come on this morning. I'm very humble and I just feel blessed just to be able to share information about me, because really it's not about me, but I'm just a part of a big picture. And again, I'm Andrew Walker. I was born and raised in a rural area, Lawrenceville, Virginia. And my mother and father were humbled individuals. My father was a public worker. My mother was a domestic worker. Growing up, through the public schools. And one of the fascinating things I think about sometimes is how education has evolved. The teachers, they did their job. We had, and I don't even know if it's used in school these days, but we had Dick, Jane, Sally, Puff, and Spot. That was what we had to read, to learn how to read. And of course, the educators, they did their job. But yet and still, as time unfolds, we know that even though they did their job, there was so much more in a culture for us to gather, to get, than just learning about Dick, Jane, Sally, Puff, and Spot. But yet and still, coming through school and going through high school, I enjoy school. I love school. I love learning. One of my favorite subjects was English. I always just liked, because we talk, I always like talking anyway. But I think that coming through school, I wasn't really into sports, although I played football, I played basketball, wasn't too much into baseball. Went into the Air Force, and that was a great experience. My parents were individuals that, even though they were disciplinarians, train up a child in the way they should go, and when they get old, they would not depart from it. So I've had my share of, branches off the tree on me, but yet and still, I learned that being disciplined was a part of life, that learning it early carries into adulthood. And that's very important, because a lot of times we are not disciplined to a degree where, and I'm not talking about all the time someone getting physically disciplined with a switch. I'd have plenty of those, but being disciplined from a thought process. And I think that coming up and being able to go into the military, and that definitely was a disciplined atmosphere. But, so sometimes a lot of individuals go in and they stay, they make it a career. Somehow I didn't feel like it was going to be a career for me. Somehow I feel like my life wouldn't be fulfilled there. So I stayed in, and the time that what was allotted for me. Went to school, went to school while I was in the Air Force, and when I came out, I went to school, and again, somehow it just didn't feel like it was me. I mean, I'd be in class, and I was like daydreaming, like, hey, it's something that I could be doing outside of sitting in this classroom. And even though I loved going to school, even though I loved college, because it gave you that, I felt that character of aplomness. Everybody, you go to school, you're cool, and you're learning, but all of that is good. But sometimes there is a part of self that can't be discovered in the classroom. And I would always pray and meditate, where is my role? What is my role? What is it that I'm destined to do? And every time I sit in classroom, I wasn't paying attention to what was going on, because my mind was, Andrew, even though it's a good thing for you to be sitting here, it's not what you were designed to do. It's just not for you. So going to school and working for the federal government, I started in the mortuary science program up at UDC when that was going on. Had some classes out of University of Maryland, Prince George's Community College. I always loved going to college, always working towards a degree. But somehow when I got in class, it just seemed like I did not fit. But anyway, working for the federal government, I went to a seminar one night, and I heard an individual talk about a 40-40-40 plan. Now, I had never heard of a 40-40-40 plan before, didn't know what it was. So the individual said, well, the 40-40-40 plan is working 40 hours for 40 years to retire on 40% of what you couldn't live on while you was working. Well, I was sitting there and it's like, you know what, Andrew, that's you, man. You on that 40-40-40 plan. But, again, I'm grateful and I'm humble because I lived through it. I retired from the federal government in 2016. I worked at the Smithsonian Institution downtown Washington, D.C. for over 20 years. And one thing about being there, protecting the nation's treasures, I worked as security management there in security. I started out as a security guard. As the vacancy announcement reads security guard, even through management security guard. And I tell you, the protection of the nation treasures was a joy because, I mean, I met so many people from all over the world, and just being in that atmosphere of knowing that it was a fulfilling job, but it wasn't fulfilling inside. So in retiring, during that time and going to school, the idea came to me. I always wanted to write a book. I didn't know exactly what I was going to write, but it just came in my spirit one day, The Successful Sinner. And I was wondering why that title. And then when I look back over my life, and you know, one might look at me now, and I don't think I look like what I've been through, because certainly the trials and tribulations of life been on me, in me, and around me also. And so when I wrote The Successful Sinner, what I wanted to do was portray a young man growing up through society with the challenges of life, being conditioned in society, not only being conditioned in society, but also learning from, picking up things from people around me, some good, some bad, yet I survived it all. And through it all, learning that even though growing up as a baby, growing up from a baby, we all learn that from, I'm a Southern Baptist. That's the title that was given me. If you think about religion, I'm a Southern Baptist. I didn't understand the difference between religion and spirituality. That wasn't something that was taught. That was something that was given. You are a religious person. And because you are a religious person, you go to church. And because you go to church, that makes you nothing but a person that goes to church. Because in the realization of being a human being, learning what it is to love somebody unconditionally, regardless of what they do or what they don't do, learning to be yourself regardless of what's going on around you. The Successful Sinner simply put me in a position to understand, Andrew, you are no different than anybody else. The same things that go on with you goes on with everybody else. There's a scripture in the Bible that reads about nothing happens to us that's uncommon to man. So anything happened to me happened to somebody else. To understand that even though an individual might look good, might smell good, even might have a lot of money, still doesn't mean that they're all of that in a bag of chips. Something has happened in their life that an individual would never tell, keep depressed, suppressed, and that's what they become, depressed. So the Successful Sinner gave me an opportunity to express where I come from, who I was, where I was, what I was, and a metamorphosis that occurred in my life that helped me work to become a better person.
Oh, right. Well, I'll tell you that.
Work to become a better person. Because it's always being a work in progress. And, today I just look at the universe as it is. I said, this whole big universe, I have a corner here in District Heights, Maryland. My job, my purpose is to help somebody in my corner of the world. My job, my purpose is to let somebody know that whatever they might be going through, it might seem challenging, it might seem like there is no hope, but just because it looks like there is no hope doesn't mean that there is not hope there. And so that's my purpose, is to be open, honest, transparent, so that individuals can see, hey, Man, he ain't no different than nobody else. But the thing about it is, he's just willing to tell some of the stuff that I might not be willing to tell. And I think that the transparency of life, the transparency of being myself is a self-development. I've learned more through self-development than I think I would ever have picked up going through formal education. There's nothing wrong with formal education, please don't get me wrong. But I think that sometimes we overlook what's on the inside of us for what's on the outside of us.
Well, I tell you,
everything that's on the outside of us is going to deteriorate. But even with us, we have to learn that what's inside of us is greater than what's on the outside of us. And so even from a humanistic standpoint, even from a secular standpoint, one individual stated, I think by the name of Jim Rohn, I believe, he said that he would rather, how did it go? Because it's so profound how he said it about education will make you an income, but self-development will make you a fortune. And it doesn't necessarily mean fortune monetarily. Self-development through learning about what's going on the inside of the individual. Why do I think like I think? Do I think about what I think about? If I get up in the morning and I have a thought, whether it's positive or negative, why am I thinking that thought? What relevance do that thought have on me for the rest of my day? What relevance do that thought have on me, not only for the rest of the day, but for the rest of the week? So it's important to understand, even though there are tides and flows of how we live, what we do, what we get, what we don't have, what we want, what we think we want, it's always important just to know that it's great just to be human. It's great just to wake up and look outside, see the trees, see the sun shining. If the sun not shining, it don't make any difference. I'm still be able to see it. And just to know that I'm here, I'm able to help somebody, and in any way I can, I'll do that, because I think it's important for people to know that the heart of an individual and mind of an individual is what's important, not only to that individual internally, but to other people. And it's so important.
Well, I tell you, it sounds like you've done a lot of thinking. Like I said, I personally know that I've known you now, I guess upwards of 15, 20 years now? It's been about that long. And one of the things that I might note is that when I first met you, you were working at the Smithsonian. I remember that. You doing your security. I remember attending meetings and going places that you were there. Actually, you come straight from work and you'd have your uniform on. I can remember that as well. But one of the things, like you said, that I have noted is your personal value. It seems to me, just in knowing you, that how you have matured in terms of your focus. You've always been very, very a person with a concentrated focus. And that was one of the things I most admired about you, that when you put your mind to whatever it was that you were doing, you stuck with it and you saw it out until you felt like you had exhausted all possibilities before you to either abandon it or modify it or whatever it took to keep going ahead. And I might add, I think you've turned into a very, very good communicator. What you're saying is so important in terms of what young people need to be hearing, that a lot of the things that they are looking for is not where everybody else is going. Sometimes where we're going, or the best place for us to go is not necessarily following what everybody else is doing.
Right.
All of us have not been called to the same purpose. All of us don't have the same skill set. And what's good for me might not be good for somebody else. So this is very important, and I think this is a good thing. I think as Black men, one of the things that I know that you are involved in church and in community organizations and business acquaintances that you deal with, that setting a good example is one of the things that you have high on your list as a priority. So let me ask now, currently, I know, could you tell us just a little bit, you told us the title of your book. Do you have a copy of your book handy that you can kind of just tell us about? And,
Just share.
Okay.
The Successful Center, Change Your Choices to Change Your Life is the title of the book. Of course, the subtitle, Change Your Choices to Change Your Life. And I was inspired to do it just to become transparent about being human, being a Black male, not being ashamed of what I have experienced in life, making bad choices, making good choices, but not having any regrets about what I've been through or what I've done.
Okay.
I think the saddest thing that one could ever do is to get to be a seasoned citizen. I didn't say senior citizen. I said seasoned citizen.
Good choice of words.
And then think about regrets. I did not do this. I wish if I coulda, woulda, shoulda. As opposed to looking back and say, I'm glad I did.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's important because we just want to, with everything we do, live a peaceful and prosperous life. And again, when I say prosperous, it don't necessarily mean totally monetary. Prosperous in our spiritual walk, prosperous in our emotions, prosperous in our health, and prosperous in our finances.
All right. Well, I tell you, so far I am just thoroughly impressed. And one of the things that you have on your resume is the fact that you do a lot of speaking. You have been called to be a speaker, sharing your thoughts and your ideas with other people. Let me ask, do you have a target audience that you normally address? Because from what I hear you saying right now, it parallels a lot of what I kind of propagate myself, and that is one of the things that frustrates me personally. One of my pet peeves, I hate to see people who've crossed that 50 mark who kind of give up on life. They feel like it's all over, that the best is totally behind them. I like to see people who have been supercharged and inspired to forge ahead, because a lot of times, we already know there's a passage in the Bible that I refer to. It says that in other words, it's going to be a greater outpouring of what you do and your life in the latter part than the first part. Because in the first part, we're doing a lot of learning and putting it all together. But in the latter part, even though you may have physically slowed down, mentally, you are more limber, your thoughts are more concise, and you got more to share with people. So this is why, like you said, seasoned people can be great inspirers to young people to sometimes shorten their pathway to success, because you've given them good insight into how to do things and things to avoid, like you say, how to be transparent, how to prepare yourself, how to look for things that help you identify what your purpose is. So let me ask now, as far as some of the things that you plan on doing in the future, could you give us an idea of what are some of your immediate goals, some of the things you're working on now currently?
Well, I'll start with this because it's very important. Nothing that I do that has not been inspired by someone else. Just like you yourself, meeting you, the ambassador, being inspired by you, and even having the opportunity to fellowship with you, to watch you sing, things that stir an individual from the inside. The first time that I'd ever been on stage speaking was with a coach of mine by the name of Bob Yates, CEO of Circle of Champions, 2013, Hollywood, Florida. I'll never forget it because that was the first time that I was on a stage, on a platform where I could address a group of individuals. And I hadn't written the book at the time. I had the idea in my head, and I just shared. I said, I'm in the process of writing a book, and the title of it is The Successful Sinner. Now, for the most part, and I'll just put it this way, for a lot of religious folk, the successful sinner kind of stirs some nerve because an individual wonders, well, how can you be a sinner and be successful? Well, I always leave that up to them to figure out, because anytime an individual, I think, I accept the Lord Jesus Christ as my Lord and personal Savior, and once I did that, I confessed, died for the remission of my sins. That automatically made me successful in not a religious sense, but a spiritual sense. So, in growing and being able to send a message, tell a message to individuals. And, my audience, I say from 10 to 40, but, it could be sometimes less and sometimes more, but a target audience so that everybody, not that it's really relating, but to an extent that individuals start thinking about what is happening on the inside of me that I'm not addressing. Because once a person becomes aware of something, then one can start making a change about what they are aware of.
Okay, well, I tell you what, I'm gonna put it to you like I tell so many of my guests, as time is beginning to wind down, that I am thoroughly impressed. Even though I've known you a long time, I've learned a lot more in this little time. And I am looking forward to inviting you to fellowship with me again on maybe a future podcast where we can go a little further. But also now, being the music ambassador, and you mentioned that you have had the pleasure of actually seeing me perform and stuff like that. One of the things that I really push is the fact that in all that we do, pretty much, music factors in. We have so many motivational speakers, and I know you are aware of this. When you go see them or in their presence, when they hit the stage, they're playing certain music before they even come in and take the platform. And from your perspective, how do you view music and the importance of music and what you're doing, and what does it mean to you in your personal life as well?
Well, I love music. The OJs, I love music.
Okay.
Always. But the thing about music is everybody has their own perception. I love all types of music, and one of my favorite spiritual songs is everything that good that happened to me, God did it. The individual name is Evelyn Agee. I don't know how she pronounced it. It's a very good, uplifting song that I listen to in the morning, and like it be in my head all day long, and it keeps me uplifted. Everything that happens to me that is good, God did it. Then there are secular music that I like. You know, the old groups, the Teddy Pendergrass, the Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, Whispers, and Four Tops. I mean, there are so many that I can bring about because music is always there. And country music, I like country music. I like music that just soothes the mind, you know. So, you know, all I love all types of music, man. I don't just have one. I just put it like this. If listening to different kinds of music is going to keep me from going to heaven, I probably won't go nowhere.
Well, okay, I can understand that, and I would have to say the same thing because music for me is not only an inspiration, but it's also been a comfort because there've been times I didn't have the right words to say about situations and things that were going on, and sometimes it was just a song, a melody that just kind of soothed my soul and just kind of put me at a place where I could be at peace. And music has that ability. And, you know, we incorporated, I think, so many people, we use music to fill that void. It actually is something that intermittent with all the things that we do, when you add music to it, it just takes everything to a higher level. Mm-hmm. So now, again, as we close now, let me ask, I wanted to shout out to my audience and also let them know that if you're liking what you're hearing and everything, we do want you to support us. Andrew, would you be kind enough, because somebody out there listening may want to get in touch with you to get a copy of your book or use your services as a speaker, maybe to have you come to the church or organization to talk with them. Give us, if you will, your contact information.
You can touch bases with me 301-586-2177. Again, that's 301-586-2177. And if you can message or text me, what I'll do is just get back with you, share with you all the necessary information that you will need to either purchase my book, touch base with me about a speaking engagement, or learn more about how I can help individuals save money. And I share it like this. If you was walking down the street and you walked up on $1, would you step over it or would you pick it up and put it in your pocket? Well, if you step over it, then you don't need to talk to me. But if you pick it up and put it in your pocket, then we can talk, because I like to save money too. Again, 301-586-2177.
Andrew, it's been more than a pleasure to have you here. Like I said, after all these years, I'm certainly inspired by your inspiring message.
Thank you, Lord.
Like I said, and look forward to, I would like to invite you maybe to be on some of the panels that I'm going to be involved in on different issues, because I know you'd have some good input, and I'm looking for the right kinds of people, and you certainly fit in.
Thank you.
But as we close, I'd like to give you a final question, or that's the final question I want to ask for young people, because this is one of our areas that we are touching on. What can we do to lift up young men and women who are following our footsteps? What would be, just in a minute or so, could you tell us what advice would you give to young people as they move? as we're coming out of this COVID season and all the things that we've been dealing with, what would be your words of inspiration to young people at this time?
One of the most important things that I've learned is who I follow and who I associate with. We look at different individuals' lifestyles, and we might say, hey, I love to be this person or that person. But the most important person that we can be is ourselves. We have to put ourselves in a position to learn from someone that is going to feed our spiritual self. Feed our spiritual self, because that is growth, that is maturity, and that is life. And once we learn, and listen, I said once we learn, because I'm still learning. Once we learn what is going on in the inside of us, and I just shared right quick, Psalms 139:14, we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And if we can keep that in our spirit each and every day, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. What does not agree with that take away from that on a daily basis, need to stay away from it.
I like that. And Andrew, again, I can't but thank you again for taking out time in your schedule to join us. And I certainly challenge all of my listening and viewing audience to get in touch with you, support you by purchasing your book, and follow up, because I'm sure you give them websites and information on how they can contact you. But this again is the Royal Height of Music podcast, where our theme is taking our music to the world, and we only do that with your support. So again, for my viewing audience, we invite you to support us. You can visit our website. We're located at venrorecords.com. That's VENRO, records with an S.com. And there you can see a lot of what we're doing with our podcast, and we broadcast every Thursday night at 7 p.m. faithfully. You'll be able to come back. This will be up for your viewing to share with other people, because we're trying to make a really a sincere difference in what we are putting out there. Positive messages that do inspire and lift people up. And if you feel led to support us financially, we'd appreciate that. You can Cash App us at our Cash App site, which is Royal Height TMA, which stands for the Music Ambassador. You can do that and support us financially and pass the word on. Go to the website. You can view our radio station, which is Venro Radio. We're in the process of putting up our TV station as well, which is Venro TV. And you can see all the other things that we have been a part of and we're going to be doing. And we want your input. We want your support. And again, we're looking forward to you joining us again every week, 7 p.m. For our Royal Height of Music podcast. And again, thank you, Andrew, for being with us this morning, I should say, and looking forward to being with you again. You've been a wonderful guest.
Thanks, Brother Roy.
And I thank you so much for agreeing to be with me this morning. And audience, you already know this is Royal Height, the Music Ambassador, where we spend our time taking our music to the world. Thank you. See you at 7 p.m. every Thursday night for the podcast.
Thank you.